From the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View with your host, David Goins.
And good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into Capitol View. I'm David Goins. Thanks for being with us. Plenty to get to as we head into now the last 2 months, believe it or not, of the campaign season. We'll talk to Democrat Lieutenant Governor candidate John Burkhalter. Plus, we'll break down the bevy of new ads flooding the airways with our political long table, Rex Nelson and Skip Rutherford, in a few minutes. But first, 2 days after minimum wage lands on the ballot, the two highest profile Republicans say they'll vote for the measure. On Friday, both Asa Hutchinson and Tom Cotton said they would vote for the minimum wage increase. This months after their Democrat opponents Mike Ross and Mark Pryor voiced their support for raising the minimum wage. The proposal would raise Arkansas's wage for its lowest earners to $8.50 by 2017. Now, after saying he was studying the proposal for an extended amount of time, Cotton told the Alice Stewart Show on Friday morning he'd made up his mind.
I'm going to vote for that initiated act as a citizen, but as Arkansas's next United States Senator, I'm going to make sure that we have a healthy economy.
Arkansas currently has the nation's third lowest minimum wage at $6.25 an hour. U.S. Senator John Boozman says he's working to pump the brakes on new environmental regulations that he says would have major consequences in the state of Arkansas. Earlier this year, the Environmental Protection Agency announced plans to cut carbon pollution from existing power plants by 30% over the next 15 years. That amount would actually be higher in the state of Arkansas. Speaking to the State Chamber of Commerce this week, Boozman said the regulations would cause a spike potentially in energy prices that could lead to other problems.
We're trying to be more competitive in manufacturing. We can't be a great country unless we are a great manufacturing country. That's starting to come back now. But again, all that is predicated on low energy prices. And so as a result, this thing is exactly what we don't need to do.
And that thing is the EPA rule he's referring to. Boozman says he's working with other senators to delay the new regulations from taking effect next June. The state of Arkansas does have until October to respond to the proposed EPA greenhouse reduction rule. Well, Dassault Falcon Jet launching a new $60 million project in the city of Little Rock. The company breaking ground Monday to start a 250,000 square foot expansion and renovation. Governor Mike Beebe says the facility brings international attention to the strength of the state's aerospace industry.
We are so proud of Dassault, and wherever I go, I talk about the aviation industry in Arkansas in particular, and Dassault being the leader in that footprint in our state.
And that expansion, as the dirt turns there, the building will be done in early 2016. Arkansas Supreme Court justices will hear arguments in a lawsuit over the state's voter ID law that will be ahead of the November election. The court has scheduled oral arguments for this case on October 2nd. Now, back in April, a Pulaski County judge struck down the 2013 voter ID law, but did stay that ruling through the May primaries. Now, hundreds of absentee ballots went uncounted because of a lack of ID. A ruling could affect the November election. Well, the post-Labor Day calendar tells us we're now in the home stretch leading up to Election Day, as we'll talk about with our political long table in a little bit. That means the ad onslaught is clearly in full gear, but instead of turning a voter's attention to one candidate or another, Capitol View's Bob Clausen asks if all the ads are just turning voters off.
Tom Cotton voted to fund pediatric research 5 times.
It's overkill, clearly.
Tommy Mall, Christian, conservative, businessman.
I don't think any of them tell the truth.
Because a lot of these television ads have, to put it bluntly, a casual relationship with the truth.
When they needed funding, Tom Cotton was the only member of Congress from Arkansas who voted against it.
But the way they frame things up, I think the public is smarter than that, and I think we can kind of see through that.
At times, it seems like you're sitting down and watching more political campaign ads than what you're actually sitting down to watch. Mike Porter says that's not how the game is played in his house.
I'm lucky. I pretty much time shift everything on my DVR, so I start watching the ads live, and so I can skip through those, and that's one of the reasons I do. His ads are just so bad lately.
I think it's about just slandering each other until someone wins. And I think sometimes it's a little bit too much.
And the parties would probably disagree with us on that. And that for people like you and me, or the people that are watching the news tonight, they'll get a sense of they've probably made up their minds.
But as soon as the sun rises the day after Labor Day, dig in. Arkansas will see an unprecedented amount of money spent in our state on campaign ads and campaigns in general. Not only money from inside Arkansas, but from outside as well. A lot of it.
It's unusual for Arkansas to get this sort of national attention. And so it's not just the candidates that are airing campaign ads. Now it's all of the organizations on the left and the right, affiliated with the parties and with just nonprofit organizations trying to get involved.
Schufelt suggests that these ads should encourage you. They should encourage you not to vote one way or the other, but encourage you to find out what you can on your own.
I try to dig into their backgrounds a little bit more before I make a decision. I usually don't go on the campaign ads themselves because, like I said, it's just slandering each other. And I think it has really gotten out of control.
I remember the old days when the politicians used to go out and, like, change public opinion by meeting the public. You know, I miss those days.
Those days are long gone.
We'll see where those days are at just a little bit later. Well, the ads will not slow down over the next couple months. One estimate, as much as $18 million already being spent in the prior Cotton race on TV ads. The governor's race also on pace to be the most expensive we've seen so far. Well, coming up after a quick break, John Burkhalter joins us in studio. We'll talk about his vision for the lieutenant governor's office and his thoughts on going up against a high-profile opponent. I'm David Goins. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
You trusted your parents to raise you in the best way possible. Now they must trust you to ensure their safety and independence. Don't trust their care to just anyone. Call Superior Senior Care, the name Arkansas families have trusted for over 29 years.
When Mark Pryor went to Washington 12 years ago, he promised to put Arkansas first.
As your senator, I'll always put Arkansas first.
But something happened. Mark Pryor changed. Voting to give Social Security benefits to illegal immigrants. Voting to give members of Congress special benefits to purchase Obamacare. 12 years ago, Mark Pryor promised to change Washington. Instead, Washington changed him. NRSC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
You say avocado? Old El Paso says zesty chicken and avocado tacos in our stand and stuffed tortillas. You say stand and stuffed tortillas. Old El Paso says start somewhere fresh.
How do you help her? Make Helper with your favorite ingredients for a fresh taste you'll love. Helper, make it yours.
Now, make restaurant-inspired dishes with Ultimate Helper.
At FBT Bank and Mortgage, we love to say yes. So if we can't make your loan work exactly the way you want it to, we'll work with you to find a way to make it work. Because we're in business to help make your dreams come true. And we can't do that if we have to tell you no. A locally owned bank with locations in Whitehall, Watson Chapel, Rison, and Fordyce. And when you need a banker that likes to say yes, remember,
the bankers to see are at FBT.
Struggling to get help for your aging parent? Don't trust their care to just anyone. Superior Senior Care is locally owned and operated in Central Arkansas for over 29 years. Experience you can trust. Superior Senior Care.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. It's our goal here, of course, to introduce you to as many of statewide candidates as we can leading up to the election on November 4th. This morning, we continue our look at the lieutenant governor's race. Last week, we had the Republican candidate on. This morning, we bring in the Democrat candidate, John Burkhalter. Mr. Burkhalter, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, David, and thank you for the opportunity to come visit and talk about my campaign a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, let's start there. This is your first foray to statewide office. I know you've been in some state commissions. There's a big difference between maybe serving in a state commission to deciding I want to run for statewide office. Explain why you wanted to get into this race.
Great question, and I'm a small businessman. I've never been a politician, and I enjoy telling the community and the state that I'm not a politician. But it really started about the 8th or 9th grade. My dad was my Cub Scout and Boy Scout leader, and I was about to receive the Eagle Badge, the Eagle Award that I'd earned. And my father, we sat down and we had a very candid conversation. He talked about giving back. He's an Eagle Scout. He talked about what it meant to him and about giving back to the state and the community. And my father said, John, I don't know where you're going to go or what you're going to be yet, but he said, son, I want to make sure that you understand how important public service is into giving back. And that is burned in me ever since then. And I've loved serving on nonprofits. My wife and I have helped a lot of charities. I was the chairman of the State Economic Development Commission. Then Governor Beebe gave me the opportunity to be a state highway commissioner, which I really loved. And I got to learn more and more about public service. Governor Beebe called me in one day and said, John, it's time to run. And David, I wasn't the guy that said, hey, I'm going to grow up and be a politician. I'm not going to be the guy that grows up and be a candidate. That really wasn't in my DNA. My parents taught me to get educated, make sure I got 4 sisters, make sure I take care of my sisters and take care of my family, buy a home, pay it off, because that could be the most fabulous investment you ever made. But Arkansas allowed me opportunities I never dreamed of. I never dreamed that I'd get a chance to start a business. I did get to build a business. I've been successful. And this is my way, another way that I can give back to my state.
So Governor Beebe doesn't prod you along? Do you do this, or are you still at the Highway Commission?
Well, I actually, I believe it was about July or so, I don't for sure, last year, that I actually resigned all the boards and commissions. Boards and commissions shouldn't have the burden of my campaign. You know, as you know, today politics can be tough. It can be rough. And, you know, I was on a hospital board. One of the toughest boards that I gave up, I was on the Pathfinder board in Jacksonville. I'd been on that board for 15 years. And that is for children and adults with learning disabilities. And I remember that night when I called Joan Zumwalt, who is a great lady, and that one put tears in my eyes. But I resigned the Highway Commission along with the UA Board of Advisors. I was the honorary commander at the 314th Airlift Wing at Little Rock Air Force Base. I resigned that. And I wanted to let the people of state to know I had a clear focus. See, I've got a plan. I've got a great business plan. And my plan has to do with education, creating jobs, and a trained workforce.
To me, that sounds anecdotally like someone who's running for governor. Why did you pick Lieutenant Governor's office? Considering the responsibilities of Lieutenant Governor's office, as we well know, is to simply preside over the Senate and serve as a governor when the governor's not in the state.
Well, I'm a CEO, and I think that you know, and most everyone else know that's followed the races, that I looked at running for governor. Governor Beebe, at my kickoff event where we had this great fundraiser and he spoke on my behalf, he said, John's ready to be governor right now. And we need to make sure the next lieutenant governor, because he is one heartbeat away from being governor, that person is prepared and has a plan. He's mature, he's seasoned. You know, I've never left my state. I've been here my whole life. I've been creating jobs and helping individuals and charities and nonprofits in my state for many, many years. And I think it's very important for the people of Arkansas to realize this person could become governor. And I am a CEO. I'm a job creator. I'm a guy that's got a plan and vision.
One reality of this race is you're going up against an opponent who is not an incumbent of this office. There's no incumbent clearly right now, but he has name recognition. Far more than I think you would acknowledge that you have. How do you overcome that over these next 60 days?
Well, we've just similar to what we're doing today, we're getting our earned media, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. We've been on television about 8 weeks, and our name recognition has moved tremendously. And I'm going to leave that to the political pundits, but we are where we feel we need to be. We're going to win this race. We've got a message, we've got a vision, and our name recognition is probably higher than you realize. I know for a fact that we've moved up great in the polls, and I feel great about the future of the race.
One of your Democrat colleagues, Keith Ingram, who's a senator from West Memphis, has proposed, along with a Republican senator, to dissolve this office next year. Why is that a bad idea?
Well, I don't think it's really about do we need a lieutenant governor. It's about who is going to be the next lieutenant governor. And we need to make sure we've got someone with vision and focus. I just believe that the legislators have got a lot better business to worry about than trying to change that office at this point. We need to leave the Constitution alone. You know, we've got enough lawyers out there in business and in government, And it's really about who's running and who has a vision. And I do have a jobs plan. I have an education plan. And the people of Arkansas, that's important to them. They're struggling out there. They need to make sure they got the chance to get a good job in the state of Arkansas. They got to make sure they got a great chance to get educated. Only about half the children that are 4 years old have a chance to go to pre-K. We've got to start them earlier, and we've got to make sure that they get a chance. If they want to go to college or they want to get a great skill, we give them the opportunity to do that.
Last 20 seconds here. I know you've echoed a lot of Mike Ross's platform. Is there any part of your own personal platform that you differentiate at all? I know you were asked that question earlier, but I mean, someone votes for Mike Ross, is Burkhalter a mirror image, or is there any difference between y'all whatsoever?
Well, I would like to think if you're going to vote for Mike Ross, you're going to vote for John Burkhalter. But, you know, I would say one of the most important things about me is I grew up blue collar. I grew up working hard. I grew up having lots of tough jobs, and I know how important it is that everyone should get that chance to get a good education and follow their dreams. I'm a guy that wants to give back to my state because I have lived my dreams. I want to dedicate my life to serve public service. I'm excited about it, and also I want to take the liberty to ask you for your vote, David, and also ask your viewers, please vote for me. I need your vote. I'm asking for your vote. I want to be your next Lieutenant Governor.
All right. Well, John Burkhalter, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Good to see
David.
you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, when we come back, a slew of new ads hitting the airwaves this week. Are they helping the candidates, or is there more harm than benefit? We'll break that down with our political long table. I'm David Goins. You have Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Our Chex commercial. There's lots of choices, and each of us has a favorite, like chocolate, honey nut, and cinnamon. There's no artificial colors or flavors. That's good. And it's gluten-free. Chex, full of what you love, free of what you don't.
You asked for gluten-free oatmeal. Now it's here. New Chex oatmeal. In the hot cereal aisle, new gluten-free Chex oatmeal.
Here in Arkansas, farmers work hard for every penny they earn, and you know, elected officials need to understand that.
But Asa Hutchinson doesn't get it. He opposed tax relief that could have helped you, but then cheated on his own taxes to help himself, pocketing illegal credits on multiple homes. And when it came out, he didn't tell the truth, even though he had signed the applications himself.
Let me tell you something. That's not how we do things in Arkansas, and we'd like to keep it that way.
It's back. Sunday Night Football. Your ticket to primetime TV's #1 show. Starring a legend seeking revenge against an emerging star. Colts, Broncos, the rematch. Tonight, only on NBC.
I played in the NFL for 12 years.
I was #4 in the world. Now I'm 260 pounds.
I'm here to change, and I'm going to.
Your glory days are about to begin.
The Biggest Loser premieres Thursday, 8/7 Central here on NBC.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. I'm David Goins. It's time for the political long table, and boy, do we have a good one this morning. Let's introduce Skip Rutherford and Rex Nelson. You gentlemen don't need introductions, but I'll just go ahead and introduce you right now. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, David. Thanks,
okay,
guys.
Let's start with minimum wage. On Friday, that made some news as we had Tom Cotton and Asa Hutchinson say they are going to vote for it. This after Asa Hutchinson had repeatedly said he didn't agree with the way this was brought about, but really wouldn't answer the question until it made the ballot. Skip, does this present an opening for Democrats to talk about the non-committal, if you will, from Asa Hutchinson or Tom Cotton?
Well, I think Asa Hutchinson and Tom Cotton were both smart coming out for it. I think it does take away some of the Democratic advantage. I believe that people are not going to judge in great detail, well, you were for it when. I think clearly they were waiting to see if it was on the ballot. So I think the minimum wage vote will probably benefit the Democrats in turnout. But Hutchinson and Hutchinson and Cotton were smart to go out and endorse it. I think it helps them.
Yeah, well, clearly, if something is polling as well as that, you would think, Rex, it would help them, but no potential pitfall of saying, well, you were, you know, on the fence.
I don't
voters
think so.
even.
There are too many other issues out there. I'll find something to disagree with Skip on before the segment's over, but not this. I mean, both Asa Hutchinson and Tom Cotton can read the polls. Increasing the minimum wage is very popular in Arkansas. It was the pragmatic political thing to do, and they did it it on Friday.
Okay, makes sense. All right, there are a lot of ads that obviously are I mean, it's nonstop. I can just pick up at any point and say there's new ads playing. But on Friday, the Democrat Governors Association started a second ad against Asa Hutchinson based off this tax credit issue. Let's take a look at it real quick.
Hard for every penny they earn, and you know, elected officials need to understand that.
But Asa Hutchinson doesn't get it. He opposed tax relief that could have helped you, but then cheated on his own taxes to help himself, pocketing illegal credits on multiple homes. And when it came out, he didn't tell the truth, even though he had signed the applications himself.
Let me tell you something. That's not how we do things in Arkansas, and we'd like to keep it that way.
Rex, I'll start with you. Recent polls have found that the governor's race has tightened up. Asa's lead maybe has been reduced. Maybe even Ross has taken a lead. Some have pointed to this issue of the homestead tax credit as a reason why. Do you think this is an effective way for Ross to get ahead?
Well, we see the DGA coming in from Washington and using the tax credit against Asa Hutchinson. We see the RGA coming in from Washington and using the sale of the pharmacy down in Prescott against Mike Ross. I still think when all is said and done in a governor's race in a small state like Arkansas, it comes down to likability as much as anything, who we like the most. I mean, we really like the average Arkansan, Mike Beebe. We really liked Mike Huckabee before him. You look at their approval ratings in a recent poll, they're both still sky high. We liked Del Bumpers when he was governor. We liked David Pryor. You know, I could go on. So I don't think that these ads on either side that the DGA and RGA is coming in and spending a lot of money on are going to at all be a determining factor in this race.
So, yeah.
David, I do think the tax ad against Congressman Hutchinson has been Ross's most effective strike. I think up until that Homestead Act issue that Hutchinson himself unfortunately created, I think Ross was searching for an identity or an issue. So I think this one has got some legs to it. Clearly, they wouldn't be doing a second ad unless the polling numbers or the issues showed that. So I think it does have some legs to it. I think it's the issue. Ross had to have an issue because Hutchinson was pulling ahead with a 4 to 5 consistent point lead. That race has tightened up. We're still 2 months out, but I think that ad and that issue resonates.
You talked about searching for an identity. Is that in part because of some of the ads Ace has had that are kind of biographical and kind of paints him in a, with his grandchildren and so forth? We haven't seen as much of that from Ross. It's been much more issue oriented. Does he need to do something like that? You talk about likability. Both of y'all brought that up.
Well, I think both these guys are likable. I think they're both elected to Congress. Asa has run statewide several times, so he has a broader name recognition, and I think people know him. I think Ross's name ID was behind his for a long time. I haven't seen any late numbers on that, but again, I think Asa Hutchinson, to his credit, up until the Homestead Tax Act, had run a pretty safe, solid campaign. And while Tom Cotton and Mark Pryor, on the other hand, Cotton's votes against the Farm Bill and against the Violence Against Women Act and shutting down the government versus Pryor's connection with Obama, there were some clear issues. But Ross didn't have any issue against Hutchinson as much. I think that gave him that opening.
Rex, can Asa navigate out of this? Or
I think so. You know, you mentioned a recent poll. One thing that's kind of fun for me, being out of politics, not working in it anymore, is people like Skip and me now in higher education. We can sit back and kind of watch from afar and maybe laugh a little bit at some of the hypocrisy, because, for years it seemed like we had Democrats, anytime a Rasmussen poll came out, saying, oh, these are awful, this is Republican leaning, they're terrible, they don't know how to qualify, they don't know how to do a poll. Then we see a Rasmussen in the last week that shows
maybe not so
both
bad.
The Democrats in the Senate race and the governor's race with a little lead, and it's the greatest thing for Democrats since sliced bread. What a wonderful poll. These guys are great pollsters.
Right. It's not as bad as it used to be.
I think it's clear to say, though, in this election, regardless whether it's Republican Musin or Rasmussen,
right.
Whatever you
intentional
call it.
Slip of the tongue?
Nothing intentional. Nothing intentional about Ray Rex. No, seriously, I do think it's fair to say that the reason why we're seeing a lot of these ads, the reason why we're doing it, is that these races, Pryor Cotton, Ross Hutchinson, are both very close. And they're both I think they're within the margin of error. You can see one may be up 1 point, one may be up 2 points. But I think people on both sides agree, and insiders in both camps will tell you these races are dead heats.
Yeah, I think David Goins needs to rest it up and be ready for an all-nighter on election night on the air.
I've already got it circled.
And go back to the old tapes for the 2000 presidential election and get some of those Dan Ratherisms and use those.
I can tell you all about that election night on another time. We have got a little more with Skip Rutherford and Rex Nelson. I'm David Goins. We'll come back and wrap up Capitol View.
Hello, I'm a kid, and us kids have an important message for our grown-ups. 3 grams daily of beta-glucan, a soluble fiber from whole grain oat foods like Cheerios, can help lower cholesterol. And where can you find beta-glucan? In oats. And they're yummy. I'm going back to being a kid now. Thank you.
Have you or your son taken the antipsychotic drug Risperdal? Recent discoveries have uncovered a possible link between Risperdal and gynecomastia, the development of breasts in men and adolescents. If you develop breasts after taking Risperdal, take action fast. You may be entitled to significant compensation. Call our network of attorneys right now for a free, no-risk evaluation of your claim. Many cases have already been settled out of court, so call us right now. Call the number on your screen today and get the relief you deserve.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
All right, well, we got time. We're going to wrap up our political long table here with Skip Rutherford from the Clinton School, Independent Colleges and Universities, Rex Nelson. Let's take a look at one of the ads that's been rated false over the last week.
When Mark Pryor went to Washington 12 years ago, he promised to put Arkansas first.
As your senator, I'll always put Arkansas first.
But something happened. Mark Pryor changed. Voting to give Social Security benefits to illegal immigrants. Voting to give members of Congress special benefits to purchase Obamacare. 12 years ago, Mark Pryor promised to change Washington. Instead, Washington changed him. NRSC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Okay, that's the first age progression we've seen in an ad. But let's look at Pryor's Ebola ad. That was rated mostly false. This one was rated false against Pryor. The more these ads are coming out, they're being rated false. Skip, is it just because they have money to burn? I mean, is there any...
It's because negative ads work. And we can sit here all day long and say we don't like negative ads. People sit at home and talk to the television and say, I'm tired of these political ads. They work. That's why they'll continue.
Rex?
They will continue in the next few weeks. Get ready. Every availability is going to be gone. You can wake up, you can have insomnia, turn on your TV at 3 a.m. It's going to be wall-to-wall political ads.
And you talk about the effectiveness of negative ads. Is it a rally the base to get them out, or does it suppress, and that's what you want as well, or both?
Well, it depends on what, it depends, you know, again, we're talking 1 to 2 point races here, so we're playing this, these political experts are watching this down to the wire, so these things could change overnight.
Tight margins, that's all you need, just tip the scale a little bit.
You bet.
All right, Rex Nelson, Skip Rutherford.
Thanks, David.
Thanks as always.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, well, that is it for this edition of Capitol View. We will see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You say avocado? Old El Paso says zesty chicken and avocado tacos in our stand and stuffed tortillas. You say stand and stuffed tortillas. Old El Paso says start somewhere fresh.
How do you help her? Make Helper with your favorite ingredients for a fresh taste you'll love. Helper, make it yours.
Now, make restaurant-inspired dishes with Ultimate Helper.
Given a choice, would you rather be taken care of by people who really care or someone who just wants to get it done?
So many times, it's the little things done right that can mean everything.
We understand that we get just one chance to do things right, and that's our promise to you.
That's why we got Molly, our newest family member, and the only grief therapy dog in North Central Arkansas, to help you during the hardest of times.
Clinton Funeral Service of Clinton and Family Funeral Service of Heber Springs, where more is offered, in a nicer way and for a better price.
Does it ever seem to you that your bank is thinking of reasons to say no to your loan request even before you tell them why you need the money? It doesn't have to be that way. The bankers you need to see are at FBT. At FBT Bank and Mortgage in Fordyce, Whitehall, Watson Chapel, and Risen, we find reasons to say yes. And our rates are as good as you'll find anywhere. So the next time you need a loan, come see the bank that works hard to say yes.
The bankers to see are at FBT.
Here in Arkansas, farmers work hard for every penny they earn, and you know, elected officials need to understand that.
But Asa Hutchinson doesn't get it. He opposed tax relief that could have helped you, but then cheated on his own taxes to help himself, pocketing illegal credits on multiple homes. And when it came out, he didn't tell the truth, even though he had signed the applications himself.
Let me tell